Hello, everyone. So I'm going to say it in French. My name is François Gingras. Very difficult to pronounce, so just call me Frank. Frank's good. So today I'm going to be talking about E2IP's journey towards having consolidations done in board. So I'm going to start with a little bit background information on myself. Then I'll tell you about E2IP, the company I work for. So who here knows what E2IP does? I knew it. So before board, I'll tell you why we decided to go with a CPM or EPM solution. So the challenges that we had, then the successes and lessons learned from the project. I'll finish with some interesting value added that board brought to E2IP. And I'll tell you about what our next steps are, because we are going to go towards the FP&A module implementation eventually. All right. So who's Frank? I'm the IT director at E2IP TECHNOLOGIES. I've been working in the industry, so I'm the techie. So earlier you were talking about techies. I'm one of them. I've been working for more than 20 years in the IT field as a project manager. That's what I studied. I use Lean, Agile, and PMP for most of my projects. And before working at E2IP, I was working mainly in big companies like CGI, TD Bank, and IBM. And the last one is not important. All right, so who's E2IP Technologies? We are a human-machine interface manufacturer. So basically what we do is we create the interfaces that every one of us needs to communicate with machines, whether it's a touch screen, a keypad, a keyboard, so any touch buttons. So all of these things we manufacture from design to up to the point where we deliver to our customers. So as you can understand, our company is a custom company. Sorry, sometimes I'm Fringlish in my head and I need a few seconds to find the English words. Yeah, so we provide all these companies or these businesses, these markets, with the different technologies leveraging 30 years of HMI experience. So if you look at the documentation, you'll see that E2IP is a 100-years-old company. But in reality, with the technology evolving, we can say that we've been 30 years in the market of HMI. So you use these products every day. You can see it in hospital beds. You can have insulin pumps that we also do. When you go into an airplane, the touch screen in front of you, that's us. When you go put some gas in your car and you prepay, that's us. So that's what we do. And here are a few examples of the products that we market. All right, so why am I here? I'm here to explain the experience we went through in implementing the consolidation module of Word. Now, as everybody in the room here knows, the finance people comfort zone lies in Excel spreadsheets. Everybody uses Excel spreadsheets. So what are the pros and cons of using Excel spreadsheets compared to having a system like Board? So you would say job security for me, actually, sorry, that was bad. Job security for me, because the support involved in having all these spreadsheets, these very complicated spreadsheets for running consolidations and financial data, is awesome for my department. Comfort zone, I was talking about the comfort zone. Everybody knows Excel, it's been around forever, and everybody still continues to work in Excel. And a fake pro, if you will, is the cost. When you buy M365, it comes with it. It's always come with the whole suite of Outlook. But the thing that we don't see is all the TOC involved in having this whole Excel infrastructure running. So you have the support, you have the data entry, you have the creation of the spreadsheets. So short story, one of our financial spreadsheets has 40 different tabs. Now, as you can understand, this is unmanageable. Doesn't work. How many times did we crash laptops and PCs with that one spreadsheet? It's insane. And you do know that Excel runs with the video card memory. It's not your CPU, it's your GPU. So you need to have monsters and able to manage these huge spreadsheets. Again, more money, because you need the laptops or the infrastructure. You need the space on the servers to be able to house all these spreadsheets. So I went into the cons without telling you, but there's also problems with data integrity. What happens is that since everybody uses their own different version of their own spreadsheet, when the analyst that's supposed to be analyzing but data crunches instead tries to consolidate all of these, there are errors, and that could have reputational impacts. Again, short story, our CFO regularly does presentations to the board of investors. How do you think he feels when we give him information from these spreadsheets and he gets in front of the board, presents something, and then goes back to his desk and they go, "I'm sorry, we made a mistake." You can't make these mistakes very often. It's not centralized. You can use Teams and try to work in the same spreadsheet. It's a little bit clunky. It works, but it's not perfect. And it's not real time. All right, so here's a little bit about our journey. So the interesting thing is that board is not the first try at implementing an EPM solution that E2IP went through. We tried it 3 years ago with a different provider. And after 2 years, they were still unable to do the consolidations. And we're not super complicated. We have maybe 5 sub-businesses, so the consolidations are pretty basic. We have three currencies, nothing groundbreaking, right? But they were still unable to do it. And you mentioned something to this in your first presentation. What we tried to do was we gave him that 40-tab spreadsheet, and we said, "I want this in your system." And that was a mistake. That was a huge mistake. So we failed, and we learned our lesson. We started an RFP process that took a year to complete. It was a very complex one. You can ask Brad. He was part of it. But there was PTSD from that first experience from the executives, from the directors, right? And they didn't want the second one to be a failure again, a loss of money, loss of time. So that's why it took a year. And board was not there at the beginning. We got introduced to board because a second lesson learned was that we needed to find experts in their fields when it came to EPM to be able to gear us in the right direction. And we didn't have it at the beginning of that process. So we were trying to find something via trial and error. And I'm an IT director, I'm not a CPA. So I was trying my best, and my best was not enough, so I needed partners, right? And that word is important. That's where, a few weeks after we met board, but right before that, we tried to understand what we were looking for in that relationship with our new, I'll say it, partner. Before that, we were using the word supplier, a supplier of an EPM solution. After that, it became a partner. We wanted someone that would partner up with us. And that's when we met board. Brad. So the success factors of this implementation. So a solid team. I was telling you the first go that the first time that we tried, it was only internal resources. Afterwards, we brought experts in EPM implementation, plus we met Eva. And they have the experience, board has the experience, or had the experience to help us in having this implemented. And when we first showed them that huge spreadsheet, the first thing that we said was, don't try to put it in the system as is, just tell us what's the best practice in trying to have our consolidation work. We're not adverse to change. If we need to change processes inside in-house, we'll do it. But you guys need to tell us how to implement this the best way. And that's exactly what they did. Best-in-class partner, we've spoken about Gartner, top right. And keeping the momentum. It was really important because after the first experience of that lasted a year and a half, 2 years, you could see, because financial departments are always at end of month or beginning of month. There's no in-betweens. It's 2 weeks for the end, 2 weeks to get ready for the next 2 weeks. So you can see that after a year and a half of going like this, having availability, non-availability of all the resources, it became just unworkable. And that's one of the adjustments we made, is that we compressed the timeline a little bit too much, but we did compress it to deliver the solution within a few months only. Now, having done an RFP that lasted a year, I met a lot of suppliers, a lot of them. Probably all of the Gartner Magic Quadrant suppliers. And the quickest implementation that was suggested to E2IP for the GCR, for consolidations, was 6 to 9 months. We even had 1 year in there for the implementation of our consolidation. And with board as our partner, we managed to implement this in 3.5 months during Christmas time. So that is a super achievement. Plus, board has the North American finance regulations knowledge, and our previous partner did not. All right, so after this implementation was completed, what are the added values? Automation, no more manual consolidations, no more, finished. And it doesn't take a week to run the consolidations and make sure that it's validated. It takes 5 minutes, if even that. It's centralized, so it's a SaaS, it's cloud. And it relies on our master data, and I'll speak to the data in the next slide. But being centralized, it's one single source of truth. I think I heard you say this a few times. And in the FP&A phase, we're going to connect to our other system, the workforce, our sales, and they're all pulling the data from the single source of truth for each of these sets of data. It's scalable. Now, I'm not saying Excel is not scalable. In the definition of the word, Excel is super scalable. You can continue using this until you die of data crunching. But to be honest with you, it's not sustainable. The scalability of board is interesting in that if I buy a new entity tomorrow, that new entity, and you've shown it into the admin interface, is pretty simple to add when the grand picture, the complete picture has already been configured. Plus, the last one here is exactly what the framework that board explained to you means: no customizations. The other suppliers that we met were very heavily reliant on customizing the interface the way we wanted it. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to have a solution driven by best practices that was as vanilla as possible, that reduces support costs and learning curves. And it is compliant. You spoke of SOC 2. There it is. All right, data. So I think this morning it was maybe VJ or Nelson, thank you, that was speaking on data, and everybody has the same type of data. It's bronze, meaning it's raw data. We're not there yet. We're not at the point where our data is silver or gold. What does it mean? It means bronze is raw. Silver is validated data. So by implementing board, we were able to validate the master data from our single source of truth, our ERP. And it's going to continue moving up until we can do proper analytics and plug in AI. So next steps. I told you already, so it's not going to be a surprise. But we are going to be implementing FP&A. It's the part that excites me the most, because as you said, the consolidations is really financial. It's numbers, mathematical equations. It was interesting because not only the finance department was happy about this interface, but the IT department was also happy about this interface. The connectors to our ERP were surprisingly easy to do, surprisingly easy. It was interesting on that front. But now we're going to be able to talk about budgets, forecasts. When I say collaboration, I mean all the business units are going to be able to use that centralized SaaS system to go put in their budgets, modify budgets. We're going to be able to create forecasts, have versions of forecasts, all of this in board. And then when we're done, we're going to be able to start managing by data. And as you know, all the top 500 companies out there, they manage by data. All of them. There's not one exception. That's what we need to be. That's where we need to be. Wow factors. So, single source of truth, data visibility, and reliability. So by validating our data sets, it became very reliable. Everybody trusted the data now, where before, there's no trust. Data access speed takes literally seconds to do whatever you want in the system. It doesn't take a minute and a half to load the super heavy Excel spreadsheet, 30 seconds to switch tabs. That's not what you get. You get this. What they showed you today is exactly the speed you get. Error mitigation. What can I say? I mean, it's a single source of truth. There's no manipulation. It's always validated. Everybody has access to it. And it's an integrated solution. For me, that was the selling point. And that's it. I'm done. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, of course.
I know we had to get integrated into Epicor for that. So
that's right.
I also heard Jeremy from ODC. Looks like you guys are looking to get integrated with Epicor. I think you can say a few words. How was the experience with the integration? How painful or not painful it was?
Well, we're kind of lucky because we do have a genius programmer in-house, Vic. Helped us a lot. He's very, very good at what he does. But it was new for him to deal with the Epicor API. But even then, it was not very complicated. Their REST API is super comprehensive. Plus, you put the SQL on board and that's it. I mean, seriously, it was a shocker. When I looked at the project plan at first, we had allocated maybe, what was it, a month for the API maybe? And in 2 weeks, everything was done. And we were pulling the data from the proper tables. We even have a CR coming, change request coming, to add the budget and the forecast columns into the consolidations, and that was done in 1 day. Once you've done the API, the rest is very quick. Does that, yeah? All right. Yes?
You know, going back to the graph with the bronze and
yes.
gold and you know, the comments about the data being validated and more reliable.
Yeah.
If it, you know, thinking about just data going from, say, an ERP into a board, how does that get you more comfortable with the data? What do you mean when you say it's
right.
validated?
So to do a project like this, you need to go through your data sets. No questions about this. You need to review your data, clean your data for it to be ready to be presented in such a fashion. Luckily, we had a few projects beforehand that managed to clean maybe 80% of that data. With board, the last 20% was very easy because once we had the API in, it was easy to see that data and then validate it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Yes.
What was the solution you used before?
Not bored. Any other questions? Yes.
So after meeting with all the vendors and going through the RFP process for a year, why did you finally land on board? What was it? What was it?
That's a good question. So when we started the RFP process, I always look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant for everything that I buy, everything. So I looked at the Magic Quadrant, and I did not fall on the board logo at that time. So we started and we took the first topmost suppliers and we met them. Now, as I said earlier, there was PTSD from the previous experience, and there were a lot of questions on the suppliers that we had selected. We selected at least 10 of them to review. And were a lot of questions on the short list that we came up with. And our CFO met a partner of ours, and they suggested to be introduced to that company called Board. I did not know anything about them, but I said, okay, fine, I'll meet them. And I met with him, Brad. And I don't know if you guys deal a lot with suppliers or supplier management, but that's what I do on a daily basis. I meet suppliers, that's what I do. So it's kind of, it's like a sixth sense, if you will, that when you meet someone, you have these connections happening. So right there with Brad, we hit it off. But after I got the presentation on the solution, the simplicity of the interface, the fact that I was talking about learning curve, something we need to understand with finance people is that they're really comfortable with Excel. So you try not to change their world too much when you give them a solution like this, so that the learning curve is shortened. And with Board, you have that feeling of that comfort zone remaining. Plus, our director of finance really loved the way that Board manages consolidations. And we just did the matrix of evaluation, and they came up top for everything. Any other questions, or can I leave? All right, thank you very much. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Matthew. Yeah, thanks.